Hi, welcome to the Wright on Crime podcast. I'm Rachel Wright. I'm the National Policy Director for Wright on Crime, and here today with Brett Tolman, our Executive Director. Super excited to talk today, Brett.
I'm looking forward to this, to talk with you, Rachel.
Of course. Well, Brett and I both get to work on federal policy, but Brett, you have such a storied history working on criminal justice issues, being the U.S. Attorney for Utah, working on Capitol Hill. I'd love to kind of know why, as a leader within the prosecution realm, a law enforcement officer supporter, how does that work with criminal justice issues that sometimes conservatives don't understand that this is a conservative issue?
You ever talk to a prosecutor or a police officer and they say it's exhausting arresting and prosecuting the same person or the same issues and not feeling like you're ever getting anywhere?
Right.
That's where I was. And I think that's where a lot of people are. And you realize we cannot prosecute our way out of the criminal justice issues that we have. And once you realize that, then you start to look for what are ways to lower crime, what are ways to rehabilitate individuals, or to give them the resources that they need so that they actually get out of the criminal justice system, which can be a very difficult thing to do. And so that's been the focus, and I think that's why Wright on Crime is what it is, because it's a conservative organization that wants to reduce crime. I mean, that should be our objective, that we reduce crime. Once you start doing that, I think you're going to see less fatigue in your police officers and your federal investigators. You're going to see less fatigue in prosecutors, and they're going to stop making such bad decisions in those positions if we can alleviate a lot of the burden of the criminal justice system.
So a lot of that in terms of getting individuals kind of out of that rotating door of a life of crime, what is a conservative principle that helps them, one, be held accountable, but two, be not, I love this phrase, not tax burdens, but taxpayers on the outside?
Yeah. You know, I think the difference between the left and the right when they approach a problem is the left really has a difficult time getting outside of the emotion and the feelings of what they're doing. They have in their mind a compassion response, but in the process of doing that, they forget that we need to find things that work.
And the victims are part of the conversation,
And the victims are part of the conversation unless you're on the left.
Right.
They don't want to talk about victims of crime. And so we have to focus on reducing crime and finding solutions that work. And I think those on the right, conservatives, they're about practical answers, things that really do work. So what's going on in the states? Which state is being successful? Which are failing? And we've literally tried to establish a network in Wright on Crime that we can actually help those in different states and federally to identify good policies that will work. And you need all kinds of people that are going to be able to look at the situation. You look at Elon Musk right now. Why is he there, and what is he successfully doing? He's outside of government, coming in and taking a look at it in a way that a bureaucrat couldn't.
Yeah, and
that's what we have to do.
He's trimming the fat. He's saying, here are the things that aren't working, and that kind of like leads me into one of the things that I love talking to you about, which is overcriminalization. So you testified before the House Judiciary Committee on this in 2024 and have a lot of knowledge about why this explosion of the criminal code is so problematic for average Americans, and particularly how this folds into the larger conversations about building legitimacy and trust within our justice system. So can you touch on that issue a little bit?
You know, you can't simultaneously give more and more power to those in the criminal justice system, the police, the investigators, the prosecutors. You can't simultaneously give them a ton of power and lessen accountability and lessen transparency, and at the same time explode the tools that they could use. You give them way more tools. What happens to an individual that has a tool belt that gets loaded with tools? They want to use those tools. So what we did is we exploded the criminal statutes. We have over 300,000 criminal statutes and regulations with criminal penalties. And once you do that, a prosecutor believes that they can go after anybody they want to go after. And if you are willing to just compromise your ethics a little bit, like we saw over the last few years, then you could use all of that power to go after those that don't support abortion, or those that are conservative, or a president you don't like and don't want to get into office.
And I think it was Justice Scalia who said something along the lines of, show me the person, I'll find the crime.
That's right.
Yeah. And so part of the overcriminalization movement is also dealing with mens rea. So all my fans of Legally Blonde out there will know that mens rea.
You're so weird in a good way.
I know, right? I've got a pink purse that, did I buy it because of Elle Woods?
You
Maybe.
absolutely did.
So all my fans of Legally Blonde will remember this fondly, that mens rea is the mindset you have to have when you're committing a crime. And there are champions in the federal legislature that are looking at ways to make sure that prosecutors are accountable, like you mentioned, held to task. And they have the amazing tool of prosecutorial discretion, but mens rea consistently applied can be kind of a check on that power. And so I'm excited about mens rea reforms in Congress. Some states have led on it already. So what do you think about mens rea?
A lot of people, you're right, they might remember the phrase and the movie and all of that. But at its heart, what it is we are supposed to only go after someone with the criminal law if they intended to commit a crime.
Right.
And ironically, it's been the left that has refused to identify what that level of criminal intent should be in hundreds and thousands of crimes. So for years we've tried to actually go in and reform the system so that it clearly requires criminal intent. Otherwise, you could be guilty of a crime when you didn't intend it, which can happen now.
Oh, for sure.
And so this is why I'm excited. I know we're going to lead on it, and you're leading, and people look to you and to me to identify what is the reform that should be in place. And I'm excited now we have some Democrats that are going to be willing to do it, and we have some great champions in the Senate and in the House. And so I'm optimistic. This would be a fix that would benefit thousands of people that get targeted for prosecution.
And I think you're totally right. And I think it also just builds on legitimacy and trust in our justice system again, because there's this really succinct quote that's basically a dog even knows the difference between being tripped over and being kicked. So that really encapsulates the reason behind mens rea. If you are meaning to do something, it's going to be different than if you don't mean to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's an exciting time to get this going. Bipartisanship is definitely growing on this. So yeah, I'm excited. Are there any other federal things that you are interested or you're seeing involved in not only Congress, but in the White House right now?
Yeah, I think you're going to see Donald Trump. He's multiple angled on a lot of issues, and in the criminal justice space, he wants to impact violent crime. I mean, right now in the country, we have a 37% resolution of violent crime rate in the country. That's too low. That should be our highest priority.
Right.
But I think he also understands, and today we anticipate he's gonna announce that someone that he gave a pardon to is gonna take a very significant position in the White House. And why? Because he has two sides to him in the criminal justice system. He understands that we do need to change some things in the system in order to facilitate better rehabilitation, laws that are more fair, and laws that are not so quickly or easily abused.
But that comes full circle back to the conservative principles of improving the criminal justice system. Violent crime and holding accountable those who make our communities less safe, but looking for opportunities for redemption and second chances.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to see this president champion a Second Step Act, and you're going to see additional reforms, because he also knows the value of a human being that comes out of the system and wants to contribute to society.
Well, it's an exciting time. We have a lot to look forward to. Well, thank you for discussing this with me today, Brett. And if you have any other questions about Wright on Crime, go to wrightoncrime.com.